Hello, welcome to Family Talk Tuesday. I am Pastor BJ Fouts, and I am going to talk with you today about teachable moments as you and your family sit at home or are doing very little that you used to be doing during the COVID-19 outbreak. How you can take advantage of what we in the classroom and in our confirmation classes and everywhere else call teachable moments. So here are a few practical tips. First, what is a teachable moment? A teachable moment is best defined as a unscheduled, unplanned, unprepped for opportunity to share or impart information, wisdom, or knowledge. And of course, from a faith aspect, a unplanned, unprepared opportunity to share our faith or share what we've learned or what we know about God. And so today, talking about teachable moments, both for education subjects like reading, writing, and arithmetic, and also talking about topics that might relate to our faith and sharing the love of Jesus with one another. A couple of examples from a classroom setting for you. Group of students gathering together early in the morning for their morning routine, and one of them asks, why we have yesterday off? And the day before being Veterans Day. And there is an unplanned for, unprepped opportunity to talk about Veterans Day. And so a teacher might guide the conversation then, talking about what is a veteran and talking about then the sacrifice and devotion that men and women might have for serving their country, for serving one another. And so it's an unplanned moment for teaching. And the reason we look for those and the reason we want to take advantage of those is when students ask questions, when your kids are asking questions, as we've heard in other videos of this Family Talk series, when they ask questions, it's because they want answers. And they are more likely to talk about, to listen to what they're asking about instead of just what you as parent or what we as teachers want them to learn. And so I know sometimes in my classrooms, whether it's confirmation class or religion class, it seems like we are very easily getting off topic. Well, that's very true. But when the students are curious about a topic, they're going to learn more from that conversation than they will with just me telling them what to learn. Another example might be when a student asks, and we have this happening in my house right now, why do we have homework? And ask the question of the kids, well, what do you think homework is for? And that started a conversation about how they're learning and what that process is like, and why repeating concepts and repeating things that they're learning in one setting, in a different setting, helps them to process and become natural processors of information. And so using their questions to help guide that dialogue. And so those are some examples of teachable moments for you, what that might look like. I'm going to share with you 6 tips or 6 strategies for looking for, identifying, and taking advantage of teachable moments in your home as you think through this with your own children as you're home with them right now. The first one is to converse creatively. And today's talking points are coming from a crosswalk.com blog, by the way, to converse creatively. And so what's your kid experiencing right now? What's going on? What TV show are they binge watching on Netflix? Or what music are they listening to? What stories are they reading? What are they experiencing? And how can you connect lessons from that fiction work to the reality of their current situation? How can you connect what's happening in this particular Harry Potter book, or this particular Hunger Games book, or this particular Dr. Seuss book to what's going on in their life right now? Can you creatively think of parallels or opportunities to draw parallels? Number 2 is to be real, to be authentic, to be true to who you are, and not to try to be a fake parent, to own up to your mistakes, to acknowledge your shortcomings, and to let your kids see that you're doing that, that you have made mistakes, that you struggle with certain things, and that you're challenging yourself to be better. In challenging yourself to be better, your kids seeing that then learn to challenge themselves to be better at what they're working on. If you're pretending you're perfect, your kids are learning to pretend that their imperfections are perfections. And not that your kids have to be perfect, but when kids know when we've made a mistake. The kids recognize when we're not being authentic in our conversations with them or with others. And they're learning to be honest or to be authentic in their relationships with others based on our example. We're modeling that. And so we have to be aware of that. That includes when we're having these teachable moment conversations, admitting my mistakes and processing through how I got to that mistake and how I might improve upon my action or my choice or my conversation helps them to learn to do the same thing. And so it's a teachable moment as they're watching us learn from our own mistakes, something very difficult for us to do. The next point is to show that you care, to stop what you're doing and engage in their life. Engage in your son or daughter's life for a few moments. And when we stop our life and kind of come down and engage in their life, their synapses start to fire and they are more attuned to what's happening and they are more likely to engage with us as we come down and engage with them. And so to show that you care by getting down on the floor, coming down to the little Barbie Dreamhouse castle or to pick up the Lego or the G.I. Joe and just to connect with what they're connecting with. And then the doors for conversation. If you've ever just listened to a group of kids playing, you'll hear how real and authentic the kids are with one another. And when you get down and make yourself kind of with them, one of them, you have that opportunity to connect on that real level also. And that is in point 4 also, and that's just being available. It's really easy and it's really hard. After a day of work, especially if you're working from home and kind of the extra stress that goes into that, or if you're not working from home and you're stressed because you're not home enough. But then when you are home, the temptation to just retreat into your own sanctuary for the time to unwind is very real, and we don't make ourselves available enough for our children. And so to make time, to schedule time, to block out a period on your calendar. There's a story out there of the little boy who asks his dad, "Hey dad, how much do you make in an hour? How much do you get paid for an hour of work?" And the little boy's dad is really upset, because it's not polite conversation. You don't ask those types of questions. And finally, "Dad, how much do you make in an hour?" And the dad says, $20 an hour. The little boy gets all sad and he walks away. And the dad kind of follows up and asks him why. And the little boy says, "Well, I only had $10. Can I get half an hour?" And the dad is just awestruck by his son wanting to spend that time and willing to pay for that time. Making ourselves available shows our children that they are valuable to us. And then that opens up the doors for conversations. Coming down to their level is one thing, but then giving them time. And time is a resource and a commodity that we don't get back. And every day that we kind of avoid that time with our children is a day that we lose. Number 5, take advantage of all of life's situations. Take advantage of life situations. Children listen more attentively when you are tying things to their world, to their experiences. When you're working with your son or daughter and you're building something out of Legos and it falls apart, well, what an opportunity for a physics lesson, right? Talk about why did it fail? What came apart? Where did it break? Where was the weakness? And how can that be a teachable moment for, like I said, a physics lesson? Well, what a great opportunity also in a lot of those things was daily conversations or daily experiences to connect faith lessons. as we think about just having that antenna up and the radar open to receiving what's happening on an everyday basis. What are they going through? What are they enduring and experiencing? And how can we connect with that with a Jesus story? So knowing some Jesus stories, Zacchaeus couldn't see. He climbed up in the sycamore tree, right? And maybe we're doing something as a family and the kids can't see what's going on. Well, obvious connections show up. Opportunities to engage in other stories, to connect what's happening here with something that happened here and how those come together. And point number 6 is to give your time. I've talked about that already. The most valuable commodity you have is time. And relationships take time to develop. They also take time to heal and be repaired. The good news is kids repair and build those relationships faster than we do as adults. So not as much of an investment as you might think it is. I know I've been in that situation before where I've dreaded how much time it's going to take to invest in building or repairing a relationship with one of the kids. And I just got to buck up and do this. And after 30 seconds, the relationship is restored. Not always that fast, not always that easy, but keeping in mind that relationships take time to develop and to repair, and that's what you're looking for with your children also, is an investment of time into that relationship. And the more you invest, the younger they are, then the dividends later in life when they're teenagers and beyond, because that connection is built. And as you build that relationship, that authentic connection as parent to child, with that comes the opportunities to talk about life and everyday life and what else is going on in our lives. And so teachable moments come about without us planning for them or preparing for them. But I hope that some of these kind of things to think about as you're looking at your family and how you guys relate together might help you recognize and take advantage of them. The last thought I want to leave you with is to remember that you are a little like Jesus to your children. And so what they see in you is oftentimes, especially for younger children, how they see Jesus, how they see God at work in their lives. In fact, Luther even describes the relationship between God and his people as a relationship between a child and his father, echoing the words of Paul, who talks about the spirit of sonship that we are given as we cry out, Abba, Father. And so modeling that relationship of God to his people and you to your children gives you that opportunity to help them grow in their relationship with Jesus. And let them see how you live in relation with Jesus, how you live out your faith in worship, in prayer, in studying your Bible, in serving others, and involve them in that. Those become teachable moments all by themselves. And then don't be afraid to ask your kids questions, to recognize when something is confusing or concerning, and find a time and opportunity to engage, to come down and ask those questions, to build your relationship with them, to start the conversations, to focus on what they want to be learning about right at this moment, and then giving them the opportunity to learn that. So you can ask them questions about school, about what media they're watching, about what YouTube video they just saw, about friends and families and hobbies, and ask them about Sunday school, ask them about church, what they're missing, and ask them, after church on Sunday was over, ask them what they picked up, what they heard during worship. That's something that our family has tried to do after church. It's kind of been disappointing for Pastor. But ask the kids just after the service is over and we click end, turn off the TV. Hey guys, what'd you hear in today's church service? And engage that conversation. Well, folks, hope this has been a little helpful for you to think about today as you process through how you're doing as a teacher parent at home. And I hope you can find opportunities to engage in those teachable moments with your kids. Blessings to you all. Have a great Tuesday.